Hi there. Camlogic is a software development house that makes tools and software for game developers. We're going to start publishing videos on useful game development techniques on the Camlogic YouTube channel. This is a mini sample of what's to come. I'm Arman and I'm looking forward to take you on this adventure with us. Go subscribe to the channel today so you don't miss a thing. Today we're diving into an old shaded technique for creating fur effects in games. This technique dates from 2001. With today's hardware, there are many other ways to render fur, but what I like about this technique is that it is an illusion, and I think the creative thinking behind it is essential in designing compelling effects. For this video I'm using Unity, but we can use this technique with any 3D game engine. The magic behind this technique is surprisingly simple. Instead of modeling individual hair strands, we create the illusion of fur by rendering multiple cross sections in layers. It's almost like these paper sculptures that consist out of thousands of layers of paper. In the fur technique, these layers create the appearance of continuous strands. The layers are created automatically in the shader. To see how this works, let's use a simple quad to start with. Our shader needs two key components, a main texture for the fur color and an alpha texture that defines each strand's cross-section shape. We'll start by working with a single oversized strand to clearly see how everything works. Another key parameter is the length control. This displaces the layers and affects how long and dense the fur appears. To make our fur look more natural, we need to control how each strand tapers. We can control the strand's thickness by using a gradient in our alpha texture that fades towards the edges. Now, watch what happens when we adjust the thickness cutoff value. This lets us fine-tune how thick each strand appears at different points. Here's where it gets interesting. By making the cutoff threshold depend on the layer depth, we create natural-looking tapering. Higher layers use lower cutoff values, making the strands thinner towards the tips. This further lets us control exactly where that tapering begins. Real fur isn't perfectly straight and stiff, it has some natural flow. By offsetting vertices to the side and again scaling the offset based on layer height, we add subtle bends to each strand. Now that we have our basic strand working, let's scale it down and create a full fur effect. First, here's how it looks with strands arranged in a regular grid pattern. Not very convincing, right? We can dramatically change the look by adjusting strand placement. Here's what happens with a completely random positioning. Better, but perhaps not quite there. And here's a version that uses Poisson distribution. It's random, but still somewhat evenly distanced. This gives us a more natural looking variation, while maintaining even coverage. When we change the main texture and properties, we can make it look like fur of various different animals. We can even create non-fur materials, such as these coral textures. This basic technique opens up a ton of possibilities. You could add color variation along the strands, create wind animation, or use 3D textures for more complex effects. It is simple but incredibly versatile. Out of the box, this technique does have some limitations. For example, because it uses transparency, how the fur interacts with other transparent objects can look strange. In the notes I give some links to techniques for dealing with these issues. And that's it. Now that you know how it's done, you can explore the technique a little bit more and maybe even use it in your own projects. If you do, please let me know. I'd love to see what you do with it. If you found this video useful, please give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification button so you don't miss the next effect. Take care and see you soon.